Hello everyone, and welcome to another EDH gameplay video brought to you by Affinity for Commander. My name is Martin.
And my name is Alex.
This week we have a theme between decks being played. Tribal tokens. Who will be victorious? Vampires? Goblins? Insects? Let's find out. My commander is Edgar Markov. I keep an opening hand of Olivia Voldaren, Whip of Erebos, Unclaimed Territory, Opal Palace, Sulphurous Springs, and 2 swamps.
Matt is using his Trostani Selesnia's voice deck. His opening hand contains Herald of the Host, Blade of Selves, Beast Within, Sunpetal Grove, a Forest, and 2 plains.
Tom is playing his Locust God deck. He keeps an opening hand of Commander Sphere, Opt, Izzet Boilerworks, 2 islands, and 2 mountains.
And lastly, Jonah's commander is Krenko, Mob Boss. His opening hand consists of Goblin Chain Whirler, Hammer of Perforos, Berserker's Onslaught, Path of Ancestry, and 3 mountains.
Jonah starts the game off by playing Path of Ancestry and passes the turn to Matt.
For his turn, Matt plays a Plains and passes.
I play Unclaimed Territory, naming a vampire. I then end my turn.
Tom plays a mountain and passes to Jonah.
Liking the way Tom thinks, Jonah plays a mountain of his own and passes.
Matt plays Colony Garden, creating a 0/1 plant token. He then ends his turn.
I play a swamp, and then cast Skull Clamp before ending the turn.
Tom plays Swiftwater Cliffs, gaining a life. He then passes turn to Jonah.
Jonah plays a mountain, and then casts Hammer of Perforos. He then ends his turn.
Matt starts his turn by playing Sunpetal Grove. He then casts Sword of the Animist, and passes to Martin.
I play Sulphurous Spring, and then pass the turn.
Tom plays an island and casts Commander's Sphere. He then ends his turn.
Jonah plays a mountain, and then casts his commander, Krenko, Mob Boss. He scries 1 from Path of Ancestry, and passes to Matt.
Matt plays a forest and casts his own commander, Trostani Selesnia's Voice. He then ends his turn.
I play Opal Palace, and cast Olivia Voldaren. I make a 1/1 vampire token thanks to Edgar's Eminence trigger, and pass the turn.
In his turn, Tom plays Bident of Thassa. He then plays Izzet Boilerworks, returning an island to his hand, and passes to Jonah. Jonah responds by activating Krenko's ability, creating a 1/1 goblin, and moves to his turn.
Jonah plays a mountain, and then casts Goblin Matron. He scries 1 from Path of Ancestry, and puts Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker into his hand, and ends the turn.
Matt plays a Plains, and casts Herald of the Host. He gains 4 life thanks to Trostani, and passes the turn.
I play a swamp, and then activate Olivia's ability, choosing to deal 1 damage to Goblin Matron. In response, Jonah activates Krenko's ability, creating 3 goblins. The Matron is then dealt 1 damage, and I put a +1/+1 counter on Olivia. I also lose a life, given that I tapped Sulphurous Springs to do this. I do the same thing again, this time biting Krenko, turning him into a vampire goblin, and pass the turn.
Tom plays an island and casts his commander, the Locust God. He then sacrifices his commander's sphere, drawing a card, and creating a 1/1 insect token with flying and haste. Moving to combat, Tom swings his insect at Jonah. Jonah takes 1 damage, and Tom draws a card from his Bident. He then makes another Locust, discards down to 7, and ends his turn.
Jonah plays Spire Rock Null, exiling a card with its hideaway trigger. He then casts Battle Squadron, scrying 1 from Path of Ancestry. Not wanting to take any casualties, Jonah passes the turn without attacking.
Matt starts his turn by equipping his Sword of the Animist to Herald of the Host. He goes to combat and attacks Martin with the Angel. This triggers Herald's Myriad ability, creating 2 copies of the Angel, 1 attacking Tom and 1 attacking Jonah. Matt gains 8 life thanks to Trostani, and the Sword of the Animist then triggers. Matt puts a forest into play tapped, and everybody moves to blocks. Tom blocks with the Locust God, Jonah blocks with Battle Squadron, and Martin takes 5 damage. In his post-combat main phase, Matt activates Trostani's ability. He creates a copy of 1 of his heralds, gaining another 4 life. With nothing more to do, Matt passes to Martin.
In my turn, I cast New Blood. I tap my vampire token, make Trostani a vampire, and steal her. Yoink! I then equip my Skull Clamp to my vampire token, killing it and drawing me 2 cards. Next I play a mountain, and end my turn.
Tom draws for his turn and creates a Locust. he plays an island and casts Whirlpool Rider. He shuffles his hand into his library, draws 6 new cards, and creates 6 more locusts. Going to combat, Tom attacks Matt with all 9 of his insects, and Matt blocks 1 with his angel. He then takes 8 damage, and Tom draws 8 cards as a result of his Bident. This creates him 8 new locusts, causing the rest of the table to shuffle uncomfortably. In his second main phase, Tom casts Clout of the Dominus, enchanting his commander. Next, Tom casts Isochron Scepter, imprinting Mystical Tutor. Such value. He then discards down to 7 and passes the turn. In his end step, Jonah makes 6 more goblins using Krenko, and moves to his turn.
For his turn, Jonah casts Carry Zev's Expertise, targeting Matt's Angel token. He moves to combat and attacks Matt with a Commandeered token and his 13/13 Battle Squadron. The Angel's Myriad ability triggers, creating 2 more Angels, 1 attacking Tom and 1 attacking me. Tom blocks the Angel coming at him with the Locust God, and Matt and I declare no blocks. I take 4 damage and Matt takes 17. In his post-combat main phase, Jonah casts the card that he exiled with his hideaway trigger, Sunbird's Invocation.
Matt starts his turn by casting Sylvan Scrying, putting Maze of Ith into his hand. He then plays the maze as his land for turn and casts Sundering Growth, destroying Tom's Clout of the Dominus. He then populates, creating another copy of Herald of the Host. Moving to combat, Matt attacks Martin with his original Herald of the Host. Its myriad ability triggers, creating 2 more attacking angels, and Matt searches the library for a plains before putting it into play tapped. Tom blocks the one attacking him with his Locust God, Jonah takes 4 and Martin takes 5. Matt then ends his turn.
I start my turn by playing Bloodfell Caves, gaining a life. Next, I activate Olivia's ability, turning the Locust God into a Vampire God, and putting a +1/+1 counter on Olivia. Lacking the mana to steal the Locust God this turn, I instead choose to mortify Tom's Bident of Thassa, and then end my turn.
Tom draws and creates an insect. He then plays an island and casts Psychosis Crawler. Tom then casts Phantasmal Image, having it enter as a copy of Whirlpool Rider. He shuffles 5 cards into his library and draws 5 cards. Everyone other than Tom takes 5 damage from Psychosis Crawler, and Tom makes himself 5 more insects. Moving to combat, Tom attacks Jonah with 7 locusts, dealing him 7 damage. He then passes the turn. Once again, Jonah responds to this by activating Krenko's ability, creating 11 more goblins, and moves to his turn.
Jonah begins his turn by casting Goblin Chainwhirler. Sunbird's Invocation triggers, and Jonah casts Goblin Recruiter for free. He uses the Recruiter's ability to put a pile of goblins on top of his library, and then Goblin Chainwhirler deals 1 damage to each of his opponents and his opponent's creatures. Bye bye locusts! In an attempt to keep his pacifist status, Jonah then passes the turn without attacking.
For his turn, Matt moves straight to combat. He attacks Tom with Herald of the Host, triggering its myriad ability and putting a forest into play tapped from the sword. Jonah blocks with Battle Squadron, Martin blocks with Olivia, and Tom takes 5 damage. In his second main phase, Matt casts Wilt Leaf Liege, reflects on how he should have cast this before combat, and then passes to Martin.
I start my turn by gaining control of the Locust God thanks to Olivia's second ability. My collection of commanders grows. I then play Ash Barons and cast Vampire Nighthawk. I create a vampire token and gain 4 life thanks to Trostani. Moving to combat, I declare an attack against Tom with Olivia, but for some reason tap the Locust God instead. My brain was obviously not working at this point in time. Tom takes 6 damage and I end my turn.
Tom draws a card and everybody else takes 1 damage as a result of Psychosis Crawler. He then plays Reliquary Tower and casts Pongify, targeting Martin's Olivia. Olivia dies, Martin gets a 3/3/8 token as a replacement, and Martin gains 3 life from Trostani. Tom regains control of his Locust God when Olivia leaves the battlefield, but sadly for Matt, his commander was stolen with a different card. Tom then plays Mind Stone and uses Isochron Scepter to cast a copy of Mystical Tutor. He puts Windfall on top of his library and sacrifices Mind Stone to draw it. Everybody else loses a life to the Crawler, and Tom creates an insect. He then ends his turn, to which, you guessed it, Jonah activates Krenko. He puts a ridiculous amount of goblins into play, and moves to his turn.
Jonah begins his turn by casting Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker. Sunbird's invocation triggers and Jonah puts Siege Gang Commander into play. This makes him 3 more goblin tokens because he apparently didn't already have enough. Once again opting not to attack anyone, Jonah ends his turn. In his end step, Matt casts Beast Within, finally releasing Trostani from my control. I get a 3/3 Beast token as compensation and Matt moves to his turn.
Matt starts his turn by recasting his commander. He moves to combat and attacks Tom with all 3 of his Host of the Heralds. Things get a little complicated, as each of the attacking hosts makes 2 more hosts, creating 6 new angels. Matt gains 30 life thanks to Trostani, and puts a plains into play from his sword's trigger. Jonah then uses Kiki Jiki to make a copy of Battle Squadron, and blocks 2 of the angels attacking him. Martin blocks a token with Vampire Nighthawk, and Tom blocks the original angel with his insect. Jonah takes 5, Martin takes 10 and gains 2, and Tom also takes 10. Still not finished, Matt casts Blade of Selves, as if there wasn't enough Myriad occurring already. With that impressive turn, Matt passes to Martin.
In my turn, I cast Patron of the Vein, creating a vampire token. I use my Patron's Enter the Battlefield ability to destroy and exile Matt's original Herald of the Hosts, putting a +1/+1 counter on the Patron. I then attach my Skull Clamp to the Patron and pass the turn to Tom.
Tom draws a card, causing everyone else to lose a life and creating an insect. He plays an island and casts Rite of Replication, targeting a Psychosis Crawler. Tom then casts Windfall, causing everyone to discard their hands and draw 5 cards. Jonah, Matt and Martin take 10 damage from the crawlers, and Tom makes 5 more insect tokens. Not yet finished, Tom casts Preordain, scrying 2 and drawing a card. He makes another insect and everyone else loses 2 more life. Tom then moves to combat and attacks Jonah with 4 insects. Jonah blocks 1 with Battle Squadron and prepares to accept defeat. Matt then offers to save Jonah provided that he kills Tom in his next turn. Tom attempts to change Matt's mind but ultimately fails. Matt uses Maze of Ith to remove 1 of the locusts from combat, meaning that Jonah only takes 2 damage and survives to fight another day. Tom tells Matt that he won't forget this, and then passes the turn. Jonah uses Krenko's ability to make 57 goblins, which quite frankly is insane.
Jonah plays a mountain and then uses Krenko to make 114 goblins. He then casts Paradox Engine followed by Mordu Scout, untapping Krenko with his Paradox Engine trigger. Jonah then moves to combat, swinging an ungodly amount of goblins at everybody, killing us all. Some might say that this was in violation of his deal with Matt, but he did technically knock him out of the game, so it's all a bit blurry. Moral of the story, never trust a goblin player. Well, that's it for another game. We hope that you enjoyed it. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter, @4commander. We'll see you next time.